Hello, everybody. Lately, I've been getting a lot of questions about, not a lot of questions about, I've had a few questions about, I may have received a question about some of the items you see behind me here when I'm shooting these videos. So I thought, hey, why don't we just give you a little tour of the Gameroom Studio? Let's do that now. Oh, and also, if you haven't done it yet, why don't you take a second and subscribe to this channel. Hit the subscribe button below. Hit the little bell notification beside it, too. That way, you'll always be aware whenever I post a new video. All right, let's get at it. Okay, so I'm not going to disassemble my camera setup that's on the production table. I'm just going to shoot this with my phone. So hopefully that'll, that's not going to offend anybody. It's just a phone video. Hope you can roll with it. So why don't we start just with kind of an explanation of the space itself. This space is really just a garage, just a two-car garage that I've converted into my workspace. This is the table that I do all my production on. You can tell that it's actually a poker table. I've had a standing poker game with the same group of buddies for a long time. All my poker buddies are comedians, except for one who's a bartender. Seems appropriate, right? And we've been playing poker together as a group for quite a long time, a lot of years, since way before Corner Gas. So it's fun that we can still get together, even though we can't do it that often, get together and play poker when we can. And when we can't, the poker table becomes my production space. So we'll have a look at it here. So first of all, here's my camera. This is the camera that I generally shoot with. It's a Canon T7i. I also have, aside from the poker lamp up there, I also have these two LED panels that I light up when I'm shooting a video. I just fire them up here. And then I also have some diffusion silk that I just slide over the top of them to make a nice, soft look. Anything that you can do to help soften this mug is time well spent. This is also the space where I record the Buttpod podcast. You see I have a couple other microphones here. A couple of SM58s, Shure SM58s that I use to make the podcast, and I run those into this little Scarlett interface. You'll see I've built I call this the audio wall. It's just a little baffling so that I kind of run it in a shoe horse pattern around the table, and it absorbs a lot of the sound, and that limits the amount of echo that goes on in the room. I'll also, if I'm recording the podcast, I'll hang some furniture blankets across that garage door. I also have these sound panels that I've hung on the wall to limit the slap back. That helps stop the echoing. And I also hang some hockey sweaters. The kids say jerseys, old timers like me say hockey sweaters. Football jerseys and hockey sweaters. Right, you've all learned a valuable lesson today. Hockey sweaters, football jerseys. I also have a live dog down here to help baffle the sound, right, Oliver? Yeah. He's baffled himself. He's wondering, what the deuce are you doing? Yeah, give me that classic look. Good stuff, huh, buddy? Good stuff. Oliver, you'll see lounging, reclining on a couple of old leather love seats that we had at our old house, and they're kind of beat up, and Oliver loves them and I love them, so instead of tossing them out, they now just hang out here in the Gameroom Studio. And behind the sofa there, you'll see the treadmill. The dreadmill. This is where I do my working out. I don't know if working out is the proper term. A lot of people would call it walking. I call it working out. All right, so that's kind of a look at the other side of the camera, the stuff behind the camera that you don't normally see when you shoot the videos. Let's take a second now to look at the things that you do see in frame when I'm recording. All right, one of the standard fixtures that you see behind me is my foosball table. I love playing foosball. I played a lot of it as a kid, misspent youth in my hometown in the arcade. And you'll notice it's got collapsible legs. It's a very stable table, but it's got collapsible legs. So if I ever do need this space to be a garage, I can fold that up and hang it against the wall. So all this space is actually convertible, reusable space. Versatility and flexibility is key when you're using one space for a lot of different things. So yeah, this whole space is convertible. Okay, behind the foosball table, we got the bar fridge that features this little poster here, comedy poster featuring comedian Graham Clark and Ryan Beal. I just like this poster. I keep it hung up here because it's, Graham's a funny guy, but I love this poster though. It's designed to look like an old fight poster, an old pro wrestling poster. So I felt it was thematic with the space, It kind of blends comedy and sports and BS all into one nice, tidy little ball. Also up here, this is a fridge magnet that is miniature version of the movie poster for The Delicate Art of Parking, which is a very funny movie that featured Nancy and Fred from Corner Gas, but this was before Corner Gas, before they knew each other. This is where they met, doing this movie. And then, unbeknownst to each of them, they were also auditioning for this TV show called Corner Gas, and they both got the part. All right, and up above the magnet, you'll see this trophy here. I don't know if you can see that. It says the Flatland Classic in there. See that? The Flatland Classic. So there's a story behind this trophy. So when we were in production shooting Corner Gas, I would miss the poker game, my standing poker game. And so my buddies would all get together for one night during production, come out to Saskatchewan, and we'd play poker. And we decided to call it the Flatland Classic Poker Tournament. The Poker Challenge, Flatland Classic. So we needed something to play for. We needed a trophy. So we went down to Value Village and we found this trophy. And we loved the trophy because it said, I don't know if you can see that, it says Proficiency Award, which is so ambiguous. It doesn't say proficient in what, it just says, hey, congratulations on being proficient. So we bought the Proficiency Award for 75 cents and we built that base for it, the Flatland Classic. And that's what the guys played for. All right, and beside the trophy is the Laughter's Elite poster. I've had this poster for a long time, since the early 90s. It's just a collection of, famous Hollywood TV and film comedians. Have some of those comedians since been found guilty of rape? Sure. So I don't know what you do in that situation. Maybe I'll put a post-it note over the face of, anytime one of these comedians does something horrible, commits a horrible crime, I'll stick a post-it note over their face. And I'll keep doing that until there's nobody but Carol Burnett left. And then below the poster we have the bar, the heart and hearth of the Gameroom Studio. This bar was built, it was just made out of wood, but I didn't like the look of it just being wood because I have the wooden wall behind it. I wanted to have it black, so it would look like it's coming off the fridge. Nice shiny black, so my buddy Jamie Hutchinson, who many of you may know as a very funny, talented comedian, he often tours with me, but he also knows how to sling a paintbrush. So I got him to paint this, and it looks fantastic. You'll see him behind have little green lights just to light up the space. See this little Vogue tobacco tin? This belonged to my father. This was one of his tobacco tins. He quit smoking when he was 60, but as a young man he smoked. He rolled his own ciggies, as a lot of men did back in those days. So the reason I like this is because it really reminds me of my dad. He had a workshop in the basement, and he used these tins to keep track of all his screws and nuts and bolts. So you can see he scratched into the side of this quarter inch. So quarter-inch screws or bolts or something were in this Vogue tobacco tin. So it's nice to have it here in my workspace. Speaking of fathers, these ice tongs belonged to Nancy's father. And so they hang out here too on the bar in the Gameroom Studio. So both of our fathers are represented here in the Gameroom Studio. It's kind of nice. All right, and up here, this neon sign, does it show up okay? Yeah. It says Man Cave. This was a gift from Nancy. When we were shooting one of the seasons of Hiccups, in that episode, Millie had to be in a pool hall. And we were shooting it in a store that had pool hall related stuff, and they had some neon signs. And Nancy knew I was building my little game room studio, and so she saw this neon sign and bought it for me, and I love it. And over here is my Spider-Man pinball game, the Amazing Spider-Man pinball game. I'm going to turn it on so you can actually see what it looks like when it's all lit up. Switch down here. There we go. The Amazing Spider-Man pinball. So interesting story with this. I actually don't know if it's interesting or not. Story with this. I knew that I wanted to have a pinball machine in my game room studio, and so I went down to a place on Main Street here in Vancouver. It was called John's Jukes, I think. Anyway, it's not there anymore. But anyway, they had a bunch of different pinball machines in there, and I looked around. I didn't really see one that I liked. So the owner of the place, John, said to me, tell me what you like, what you're looking for, and I'll keep an eye out, and if I see something or if something comes in, I'll give you a call. So I said to him, all right, I like pinball games the kind of circa mid-1970s to mid-1980s, right? 75 to 85, that kind of era. And I also like sports and superheroes. I don't even think a month went by when my phone rang, and there was John. And he said, hey, listen, we just had a game come in. It's a 1981 Gottlieb Spider-Man game. I said, holy mother of Christmas. We had that game in my hometown, 1981 Spider-Man Gottlieb. That game was in the back of the bus depot, and I used to sneak in there as a kid and play it and loved it. And so here it is, and it was in amazing shape. The back panel, all the colors, the paint, they had to do a little bit of touching up, but not much. They replaced the rubbers and everything and made sure everything worked. So it works like a red hot damn. I love this thing. Hang on. Oliver's scratching to get out now. All right, buddy. He'll go out and bark a bit, and then 9 seconds later, he'll want to come back in. Okay, so what else from a production standpoint? Oh, we got this light over here. This is just a little clamp light that I got at Home Depot, and it really helps accentuate this area. And here's my, there's my travel kit, my gear kit, tripods and lights and microphones and different production-related items in there. Man, did you hear the size of that crow? Holy dinosaur. All right, some other decorative items here. We got the goalie mask poster. I was a goalie when I played hockey. I still have a soft spot for goalies. Here's my, a lot of you know, I love the Vancouver Canucks. That's my team. And this sweater here was signed by the 2010-11 team that came within one game of winning the Stanley Cup. Oh, what a heartbreaker that was. Can you hear Oliver out there woofing it up? What are you barking at? Intruders, probably. Just a gang of marauders rifling through the house right now while I'm out here making videos. All right, and here's the source of the tunes. Got a Bose stereo here. This is quite old. It's quite an old unit. You can see it's got the 31 pin setup down there. But I found this little Bluetooth thing you can just stick on there. And now it becomes a Bluetooth receiver. Hang on, Oliver, for the love of fudge, what are you doing, man? What do you do? You're killing me over here. I gotta go let him in. Is that all better? What a ruckus. What was the issue out there, buddy? Are we all safe? You don't look like you're overly alarmed. Oh, good work out there. Keeping the crows from coming in here and pecking us to death. All right, back to business. The thing that was underneath the Bose little stereo system there, get a load of that. I'll turn around so you can see it better. Look at this. A handmade, carved from wood, life-size gas pump that was given to me as a gift. And I love this thing. A guy who's retired and spends his time working in wood, was a big fan of the show, Corner Gas, so he built this thing. He put the Corner Gas logo on the front there, and you can't see because I've damaged the hinge. I have to have it fixed, but this is a door. This actually opens up, and the inside of this gas pump is actually a wine rack. It's a wine holder, and it's got a tray and serving stuff in there. It's fantastic. Also, if you come around here, on this side of things, this would be the switch that you use to turn the gas pump on, and he's designed it so that it lights up. Pretty fantastic. Gorgeous, right? It'd be better if it didn't have, the balloon birthday wrapping paper beside it. That kind of loses some of the gas station authenticity, but still. And beside the balloon wrapping paper, I got extra tripods and lights and things that I need for production. Paper towels, you can never have enough of those. Okay, just a couple more items here and then I'll wrap it up. Okay, below the bar is the Hockey Night in Canada, CBC Hockey Night in Canada mat that my wife got me. Horrendous stain on there. That's cherry juice. We were making cocktails that had cherries, actual cherries involved, and I stupidly left some in a colander, and overnight they dripped down on top of this mat. So kind of looks like a murder scene. If you have any notions about how to get rid of cherry juice, let me know in the comments below. This stool means a lot to me too. That stool was a stool from a nightclub called the Urban Well, where myself and a bunch of local Vancouver comedians would do shows. Every Tuesday I emceed a show. We would put through 15 different comedians would go up. Oh, sorry about the light behind me. It was a fantastic space to do stand-up comedy. The crowds were really super into the shows. They were all very kind of savvy about what a good comedy crowd audience should be like. And so it was just fantastic every Tuesday night. And we had all kinds of great comedians came down there. Robin Williams would come quite regularly when he was in town. Kevin Nealon came by there. David Cross, Sarah Silverman, lots of fantastic comedians would stop in because they knew that this was the place to be. So I emceed that show up until Corner Gas came along, and then I had to be out of town too much, so I couldn't do it anymore. Anyway, when the Urban Well finally closed, I needed to have a keepsake, so I said, let me have one of these stools. So this was one of the stools that sat up at the bar, or sometimes would be on stage with me when I hosted the show. And then above the stool, this is where we'll wrap it up, with this right here. You may have seen this picture in behind me when I'm shooting the videos. This is a picture of one of the funniest dudes that ever walked the planet, Irwin Barker. He was a comedian, originally from Winnipeg. Lived out here in Vancouver for a long time. Also lived in Toronto for a little while. Anyway, he was one of my best buddies and one of my poker pals. And so here he is at the very first Flatland Classic. He was the victor, proudly holding up his proficiency award and all those chips. Oh man, if you tally up those chips, it must be well over 18, 19 bucks worth of cold hard cash there. But anyway, Irwin, he was just a fantastic human being and truly one of the funniest dudes ever. Sadly, he passed away from cancer, and we miss him like crazy. And so I wanted to make sure he stayed part of the poker group. So we got his picture up there, mocking us with his victory win. Every time we go over to the bar, we got to acknowledge that, yes, you are a fantastic poker player, and we miss you like crazy. R.I.P., buddy. So yeah, if you don't know Irwin Barker, take a second to look him up. You can Google him. You find a lot of stuff of Irwin's right here on YouTube. He did a bunch of stuff for Canadian TV. One of the specials that he did, when he found out that he was dying from cancer, he did a stand-up special that he called That's My Time, which is such a Irwin Barker joke, you know, because comedians often say that's my time when they're wrapping up their set. You'll hear comedians say, well, thanks a lot, that's my time, I gotta go. So because Irwin knew that he was dying of cancer and this would probably be his last show, he called it That's My Time. Such a brilliant dude. Anyway, look him up. That's it, I guess. I've been looking around the room to see if there's anything else that I need to show you that I haven't. I think I've kind of clicked on everything that's important. All right, there it is. There it was, the tour of the Gameroom Studio. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing and spreading the news. Telling your friends about the Buttpod, the YouTube channel, as well as the Buttpod podcast, which you can find at thebuttpod.com or, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. I think you can find the Buttpod. All right, thanks again. We'll see you in the next video.